To look at the 11th and 12th centuries in India is to see two different realities coexisting in the same space. On one side, the dust and chaos of massive cavalry charges. On the other, the steady progress of merchant ships cutting through the Indian Ocean. These shifting geopolitical forces acted like a weather system, bringing violent, destructive storms to the northern plains, while simultaneously catching the sails of the south, fueling vast trade networks. It leads to an obvious question. How could a society facing such deep political instability and foreign invasion manage to advance its scientific inquiry, religious thought, and architectural scale at the exact same time? The answer starts with the map. By the year 1000, the subcontinent lacked a central, stabilizing empire. It had been replaced by a fractured web of regional powers, each ruling its own territory and often competing for control over the local trade routes and mountain passes. This political fragmentation left the north particularly vulnerable to threats from Central Asia, setting the stage for two regions to follow entirely different destinies. The first major incursions came through these mountain passes on the northwest frontier. From the Kingdom of Ghazni in modern-day Afghanistan, a ruler named Mahmud began leading his armies down into the Indian plains. Mahmud launched 17 raids between the years 1000 and 1027. He wasn't looking to govern or establish a permanent presence. He was a raider, extracting vast amounts of wealth from temples and cities to fund his own empire back in Ghazni. Traveling with Mahmud's army was a Persian scholar named al-Biruni. He spent years in India as a documentarian, learning Sanskrit and studying the local traditions. Al-Biruni recorded the local advancements in science, mathematics, and philosophy. He noted that while the invasions caused panic, the intellectual life of the subcontinent remained intact, as scholars moved their libraries to safer regions like Kashmir and Varanasi. While Mahmud's raids stripped the north of its physical riches and weakened its frontier defenses, they failed to erase the region's intellectual foundations. After Mahmud's death, the defense of the north fell to regional powers like the Chauhans. By the late 12th century, their leader, Prithviraj Chauhan, controlled a kingdom stretching from the edge of the desert to the gates of Delhi. But a new force arrived from the mountains of Ghor. Muhammad Ghori did not come just to loot gold. His objective was to capture and hold permanent territory. In 1191, the two forces met at the Battle of Tarain. In this first encounter, Prithviraj Chauhan successfully repelled Ghori's army, forcing him to retreat. But Ghori returned a year later with a larger, better prepared force. This time, the Chauhans were defeated. This second battle at Tarain marked the beginning of a permanent political shift, opening the way for Turco-Afghan rule in northern India. This move from temporary raiding to permanent conquest succeeded largely because the fragmented northern kingdoms failed to unite against a common threat. While the north fought for its political survival, the south was largely protected by its distance from the invasion routes. Here, the Chola Empire was emerging as a dominant imperial power. The Cholas built their state on naval strength. They controlled the trade routes of the Bay of Bengal, sending their fleets across the sea to secure ports in Southeast Asia and protect the flow of spices and textiles. This maritime economic engine financed massive construction projects. This is the Brihadishwara Temple, built by Rajaraja Chola I. Its scale and detail provide a direct look at the wealth and technical skills flowing through the southern capital. This economic reach also acted as a vehicle for cultural export. In Cambodia, the Khmer kings built the massive complex of Angkor Wat in the 12th century, using Sanskrit inscriptions and architectural styles that originated in the Indian South. This era proves that geography often dictated a kingdom's fate. While one half of the subcontinent was locked in land-based survival, the other was functioning as a global economic powerhouse. But the story of these 2 centuries isn't just about kings and borders. Below the level of high politics, the spiritual and social lives of the people were undergoing deep-seated shifts. This was the era of the Bhakti movement, a grassroots social and spiritual turn that began to question the rigid rituals and caste divisions of the traditional religious order. Thinkers like Basavana, a royal minister turned reformer, led this charge. He promoted the equality of all individuals and the dignity of labor, rejecting exclusive rituals in favor of direct personal devotion. To reach the people directly, these thinkers began writing in regional languages like Kannada and Tamil instead of elitist Sanskrit. This shift democratized religion, making complex philosophical ideas accessible to everyone. By translating high ideals into common speech, the Bhakti movement provided a shared sense of social identity that remained strong even when the political structures above them were being dismantled or replaced. Scientific inquiry also showed a similar resilience. In regions removed from the northern wars, scholars like the mathematician Bhaskaracharya continued to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Bhaskaracharya taught complex math through engaging poetry. In his famous Me riddle, he describes a swarm. A fifth land on one flower, a third on another, and 3 times the difference between those land on a third. The student must use algebra to find the total number in the swarm. The solution, 15 bees, requires a sophisticated understanding of fractions and equations, proving that abstract science was advancing at a high level even during this turbulent century. The 11th and 12th centuries were defined by this paradox, a period where the northern political order was broken by new invasions, while geography shielded the south to build vast empires and enduring intellectual traditions. The seeds of modern India, its diverse regional languages, its devotional traditions, and its complex politics, were all planted during this era of shifting winds.